Welcome back. Okay, well we discussed the camera last time and position in 3D space, and we talked about how you can do different views. So for example, here's my active camera view. Here is my custom view 1, and as you can see I have some elements in 3D space here. And I also have this. I've added a camera and I have here some type. Okay, so just to watch how this animation works, the type is the word escape. So I'm going back to my footage of the man um, walking across the forest there, and the type is moving forward in space and off screen. Okay, and our camera is zooming in. So we're going to add to this, but first let's see how it works. So let's look at it from the top. Okay, and I'm going to zoom out a bit. So here's my camera. Here's my type, and there's my video footage. Okay, so I'm going to go back to fit, and as you can see, I can zoom in and out and kind of take a look at this a little bit more interactively, and you can see at this point in time, my type is in front of, physically in front of my moving video. So that's my full motion video right there, and that's my camera. Okay. So you can also see I have some keyframes set up, and let's watch this from the top. So as the camera moves in, the type actually fades up and then it moves forward off screen. All right, now what does that look like in real life? All right, so I'm going to go to fit and let's watch it. So again, this is slow because we're talking RAM preview. So escape. Fades in, moves forward off screen. Okay, good so far. Okay, so let's break that down. How did I do that? All right, well the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck everything I've done on the word escape. So escape is just going to have nothing going on at all. So there's my type. The one thing I have done is enabled 3D for all 3 layers. Now, this camera, I'm actually going to delete it. So we're going to start from scratch on this, and then we're going to add a little bit more. All right, so the word escape, I'm going to bring I'm actually going to recreate it. Actually, I think I probably have, no, yeah, I have it set at an opacity of 0. So let's fix that. So there's the word escape. So the word escape, we have our video background, and I'm just going to position it. I'm actually going to position it a little bit differently. So I'm going to position it right here, right below the horizon line. Okay, now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a camera. So layer, new, so we have lots of possibilities here. Layer, new, camera. All right, so without going into a whole lot of detail about this, because we're just going to play with it here, our angle of view and film size is roughly equivalent to a normal lens, or what you would see if you looked through a camera with a 50mm lens. All right, so 2-node camera, 1-node camera, we're units, millimeters, and all this other stuff. We're just going to keep it at the default right now. Okay, so now here's our active camera, and now let's look at the top view. All right, so our active camera by default is right there, and I can see my type is already somewhat in front. I'm actually going to start it out a little bit further back, and I actually want to see what that looks like before I start moving the camera. I'm going to move the object, and I'm going to have the camera move at the same time. So let's go back to our active camera view. Okay, so zoom in a hair, and because the word escape was further forward in space than I wanted it to be, I'm going to reposition it. All right, so now I have the beginning position. Let's look at the top view again. The beginning position for my type, my video, which is right here, and my camera. First thing I'm going to do is move the type. All right, so this is going to be easy to do from the top view, because I want to move it off screen, off camera view. So I'm going to have it move in a diagonal direction off screen. And we'll play with that and tinker with it and see how it looks. So I have my text here, the word escape, and I have all of its transforms. So the first transform I'm going to do actually is opacity. I want the text to start out at 0% opacity, and over maybe a second or two, I'm going to add another keyframe and bring it up to 100%. It's going to stay at 100%. And I'm not being too picky about the time here. And then it's going to fade out back to 0% as it goes off the screen. Okay, now let's move it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move I'm going to use my opacity keyframe for alignment. I actually want the type to appear to be moving before it hits full opacity. So what I'm going to do is put a keyframe right in between my two opacity keyframes. So when it's at about a 50% opacity, it's when it fades in, it's going to already appear to be moving. So I'm going to put a position keyframe right there, and the ending position. So this will just be one smooth move. Okay, so we have our X, Y, and we have our Z. So if I move our Z axis, I can move this off the screen. And if I move our X axis, I can move it left or right. So I'm going to move it off the screen right, and it's going to be bigger. Okay, now I'm actually going to, now I can drag this so it's off screen, and I can either use, so I'm on the right keyframe, I'm going to use the position tools to move it so that it appears to move a little bit faster. So it really goes swooping off screen as it changes opacity. All right, so let's go back, I'm going to save, and let's go back to our active camera view. Move that down. Okay, so let's do our slow RAM preview, see if we like it. So our man's walking across very slowly. And now our type should be fading in and starting to move. There. Okay, I'm actually going to stop it after this preview because I want to move that keyframe. I want it to appear to be moving as soon as it becomes opaque on the screen. That's a little bit too slow for me. All right, so I'm going to pause that. I'm going to move this keyframe, position. Okay, let's try that again. There, now it appears to be moving and coming into full opacity at the same time. And in reality, this is going to take seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, once we have it fully rendered out. So we'll watch that painfully render out one time, and then we're going to add some type. And we're going to move the camera a little bit more. So we'll give the camera some movement. Okay, I'm going to let this run out just so we can see it in sort of real time. Okay, let's watch it one more time. There. Okay, so I think I want this to happen over a shorter period of time. And while this is happening, while my word escape is coming forward, I'm going to add another piece of text. So I'm going to close all of that, click away, and I'm going to click my type tool, and I'm going to use the word from. All right, so for this, actually I think I am going to use all caps. And I had white text here. I think I'm actually going to flip these colors so I have white outline text. And that's a little bit, that outline is a little bit, it's a 1 pixel outline. So I'm going to make it, let's see what a 3 pixel outline looks like. Okay, that looks a little bit more visible, escape from, so that's 3 pixels. And let's take a look at the, I'm going to save here, and then we're going to take a look at the top view. Okay, so here's the top view. So there's the word from, and we're going to create a motion path for that too. So it's going to start out, V for the move tool, it's going to start out right at our camera level. So let's switch views. Okay, so I want it in front of the video and right at the camera's focal plane. All right, so this is, again, I'm going to move this so I have its transform functions. The first function I'm going to deal with is opacity. So this is going to come in just a hair later in time. So clicking on the timeline, it's going to start at an opacity of 0. And it's going to move to an opacity of 100%. And while it's doing that, it is going to move, and this time I'm going to make it move very quickly. Okay, so over fractions of a second. I'm going to hit position, it's starting out here. Make sure this layer is 3D. So now I have all 3 positions available. Escape from, so position, we have a keyframe there. So I can go forward or backward, and I'm going to have it go forward. And let's take a look at the top view so that I can do this more easily. Okay, so the word from, I'm going to just zoom out right here. So the word from, I am moving off screen, and I'm going to have it past the camera's focal plane. So it's going to go all the way past, this is, if we think about, this is our eye, and this is what our eye sees. I'm going to have this move past the focal point of the camera, past where the viewer would be looking. So from the focal point to the, essentially here's the camera, and the frame, the large frame is its field of vision. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at this in the active camera view. And I'm going to go to fit. Okay, so now this is going to be fearfully slow. Go ahead and save. So he's walking, he's walking, he's walking. Escape flies out. You should get the word from here in a minute. Actually, let's take a look here at the top view. And opacity. Okay, so opacity goes to 100%. And let's look at where we started this, because it looks like I have a position keyframe set for this, but I didn't set a position keyframe for its endpoint. So let's look at where it is at the moment. So where's my word from? Hey, I lost it. There's the word escape. There's the word from. Okay, so I am going to move forward in time. There it is. Okay, so I made a very simple mistake, which is I didn't add another keyframe. Easy to do. All right, so that's its end point. So we want to give it a start point and an end point. So there's its end point. We're going to go back one keyframe and give it a start point. There. By the way, if I want to, I can type in the number 2 if I want. So I can click and drag. And let's go ahead and look at this again, active camera. And we're going to fit. And we're going to render that out again. So there we have our 2 words. And I'm going to just quickly work with the word from here for a second. So our source text having your next demi bold, 3-pixel outline, and I'm actually going to turn it to white because it's not rendering in the outline, in RAM anyway, so it's maybe a little bit too much for it, for my computer. All right, so now let's go to watch it one more time. I'm going to scrub through it. Escape from. Okay, so, and accidentally opened up the graph editor. I'm going to take that down. Okay, so now the word from, I want it to come in a little bit later. So I'm going to take its moment in time and I'm going to move both sets of keyframes for position and for opacity. So we need it to come in right here. So position, and our first opacity keyframe, our second opacity keyframe. It's going to move off screen. I'd like it to move off screen a little bit more quickly than that. All right, escape from, and I guess we'll do reality as our last, and then we'll move the camera. Okay, so escape from, and save, and we're going to do one more piece of type. So I'll type in the word reality. Okay, so I'm not doing a lot of effects on the type here, but I am going to move this, again, further forward in time. So I'm going to watch where my man is here. So he's all the way here when the word reality pops up on the screen. So let's just position that. Okay, so I'm going to do a real simple move again, looking at it from its position, there's its initial keyframe, and its opacity, there's its initial keyframe, it's at 100%, and I'm going to move that down to 0. Second keyframe for opacity, Moves to 100%. Okay, now let's move its position, second keyframe. Got to make sure this is a 3D layer. So we could have this one move back in space. That might be interesting. Back behind the trees. All right, so let's do that. Okay, so we're going to preview this one more time. So we've just animated 3 text layers, and we are now going to animate the camera. So there's escape, and again, this is RAM preview. As you can see, it's going at 4 frames per second, which is not exactly real time. And then reality is going to go back in space. All right, so reality should be coming up right about now. I want it to come in a little bit earlier, but I'll tweak all that in a bit, because what I really want to show you is moving the camera in combination with all of these things. Okay, so here comes our word reality. And it too is going to move, but it's going to move backwards. And fade out. Okay, fine. So we're going to save. Now we're going to move the camera and we're going to render this baby out. So the camera, I'm going to place it on top of all of my layers. And I'm now going to animate the camera's properties. Okay, so the camera has transform properties just like everything else. And we're going to look at this from top view again. And so my camera is going to, it's automatically 3D, as you can see. So I'm going to have my camera move forward. See that? So I'm going to undo that. So that's my first keyframe. Next keyframe, my camera is going to move forward so that it is just in front of the video frame. Okay, so now we have a lot of other options to the camera. Zoom, depth of field, focus distance, aperture, blur level, iris shape. We can play with that. I especially want to play with depth of field. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we have. So by the way, here's camera 1's view, which is the same as our active camera. And now let's watch what happens. Okay, so this is super, super slow in the preview. So the camera is slowly moving in. Can you see that? We're losing that little bit of a letterbox there. Okay, let's look at that in slightly more real time. So the camera's not moving a whole lot, it's just zooming in a little bit while these letters are going in and out. All right, so I'm going to end this video, and then we're going to try a few more tricks with the camera.